Hello there. My name is Tommy Lee Cassidy, the writer of the Right Wave of Liberalism, and of course with the same name for the YouTube channel. Hi! And so today we're talking about freedom versus safety. Why the West is losing both. The government ordered us to stay at home. They tracked us with applications. They silenced critics online and millions cheered. Why? For safety. But what happens when the premise of safety and the promise of which becomes the excuse to strip away liberty? Across the West, our leaders say they are protecting us. But in my opinion, in reality, we're losing both freedom and safety. The moral trap, trading liberty for security. As a classical liberal, liberty is the condition for real safety. It isn't the enemy. Moral thinkers reverse this. People now believe safety must come first, and liberty can wait. As Benjamin Franklin warned us, those who would give up the essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserves neither liberty nor safety. Emotional safety now includes speech codes, safe spaces, and of course, deplatforming. But has anyone actually felt safe? In this modern era of which we live in, do we truly feel safe? Crime is at the lowest levels that have been recorded in an exceedingly long time. Yes, it's true that petty crime has increased. As a general rule, law and order in Britain is reasonably okay. But why don't we feel safe? That is the real question. During the pandemic, during the periods of 2020 till today, it shows how easy freedom and freedoms that we have taken for granted in Britain for nearly 300 years were suspended and, worst of all, normalised. In 2020, governments across the West suspended freedom of movement, assembly, worship and protest. Dissenters were labelled as dangerous, not just wrong, but criminal. Vaccine passports became somewhat of a reality. Citizens forced to present medical records just to buy a cup of coffee. Now granted, I'm not exactly a fan of coffee. I'm as English as they come, give me a cup of tea any day. But the point still stands. And the worst part about everything, many cheered it on. And still do. So we have to ask ourselves, did the lockdowns truly make us safer? Or did it just make the state far more powerful? And we accepted it. Liberty dies while the people cheer. I think there's a beautiful quote from Star Wars actually. It says something to the same effect. This is where liberty dies, with thunderous applause. Now, we have to understand the reveal of the emerging infrastructure of control from digital identification, surveillance, and central bank control. The UK and the EU are pushing for a digital ID systems tied to banking, travel, and healthcare. These allow the central tracking of civilians, activity logs, essential restriction of access to basic and based on social criteria. The central banking cryptocurrencies, or the CBDCs, programmable money that can be restricted, frozen, or geo-locked. This is the equivalent of China's style social credit system. It is no longer a joke. It is a blueprint. They say it is for security, but it is really about control. Control over what you buy, where you go, and what you are allowed to say. What are we becoming? We criticize the East, Russia and China, for their societies that have no restriction of liberty. Complete restriction of liberty. And yet we are becoming just the same while in the same hat, criticizing those that are there, and yet we are cheering this on. Online censorship and safety language. Speech is being rebranded as violence, and liberty becomes the threat. Online harm policies such as the Online Safety Act claim to protect us from harmful but legal content. But harmful, as spoken before, is never defined. It can be anything that offends or challenges the consensus. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, mass takedowns of pandemic dissent, gender-critical views, and even worse, satire. Is this safety, or is this soft totalitarianism disguised as modernism? Tech companies act like the arms of the state, digital distribution without legislation. Now, classical liberalism is liberty, but it's the foundation of safety. As a classic libertarian, we need to return to the first principles. Liberty makes us safer, not the state. A free press exposes corruption, not complicit in one. Free movement lets people escape tyranny, not shelter in place. Freedom of speech lets bad ideas be challenged, rather than fester in silence. Freedom allows resilience. Forced safety breeds dependence. The West's greatness came from liberty, not lockdowns or censors. To reiterate, we are at a knife edge, a pivotal point, where the liberties that made us who we are in this great imperial nation are falling down the wayside. We are becoming that of which we have accused, those others that do not fit the same way as us all, and yet we are championing it and celebrating it, even though it is becoming the end of who we are, and yet we stand firm on this belief. This needs a new reawakening. Do we stand and allow our liberties to be forsaken for a government who believes itself to be higher than God, or do we stand firm and strong for liberty, for freedom, for the future of us all? What we have to do is stop choosing safety and start choosing strength. The irony is, we are less safe than ever. More division, more anxiety, more centralization. True, crime is on the low end, but who defines what crime is? When the government can at any time denounce or remove certain levels of crime because it doesn't fit with their ideology, is stricken with a sense of disparity. Liberty is messy, it is risky, but it allows wrong opinions. But the only protection we truly have is liberty. And we don't need more laws protecting our feelings. We need courage. We need our freedoms. You, dear sir or madam, are not a child. You don't need protection from speech, from choices, from truth. You need liberty, because only liberty makes us strong. Thank you. Sometimes one does get rather passionate. The point remains, we need to stay strong. We need to be one. As a man from the north of England, as common as can be, though my accent definitely doesn't sound good, but that is simply because, honestly, I stuttered when I was a child. I got speech. But now I just sound like a rather serious one. The point remains, we need to stay strong. We need to be strong. And we need to be the person and the people that we believe we are. Well, our nation was built on the foundation of liberty. Let's not lose that because individuals feel uncomfortable. It is who we are as a nation, as freedom in democracy. Thanks.